to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and at this time of year, lots of people reevaluate their careers. Maybe you're in a job that you don't really like, maybe your boss isn't someone you get on well with, and I think a lot of people after the festive break return and really start questioning, is this really where I want to be? And I was working with a client that really felt that way, except that rather than wanting just a different job, they wanted to move from being an employee to being self-employed. They wanted to do their own thing. Now, this client was quite young, so they felt that this was quite a daunting thing to do. But they did have a safety net, and that safety net is that if it didn't work out by doing their own thing, they could always do contract work while they're continuing to work on their own business. That's helpful. It's helpful to not be reckless when you're talking about things like your livelihood, to have a way of just making sure that you have a plan A, but if it doesn't quite go to plan, you're not ruining and risking everything, if that makes sense. Now, I don't think this particular client was going to need that safety net, but I still include the safety net as a metaphor within this to highlight that they can be more bold, more audacious, more comfortable with risk, knowing that they have that safety net than if they didn't. But the main metaphor here is the metaphor of security and freedom, and that uses a zoo. So right now, I want you to think of your favorite zoo animal. Maybe, I like lions and tigers and things like that, very impressive, majestic creatures. I also like rhinos and things like that. So I want you to think of your favorite zoo animal. And just imagine that if you were that animal and you had a choice to make of the safety and security of the zoo, you get your meals every day, there's a vet on hand, it's predictable, there's no poachers and predators trying to kill you, but your life is mundane, it's repetitive, it gives you limited options as to what you can do if you're in that zoo. That represents security and comfort, but almost boredom or monotony, less of autonomy. And then the other option is if that was you and you were that zoo animal and you could choose between the zoo or freedom being out in the wild, what would you choose? And this isn't one of those trick questions where everyone chooses freedom. That isn't the case. Some people have a hierarchy of values and they would much prefer the security and predictability of being in the zoo, and to use the analogy here, having a job, than they would want the freedom that is linked to entrepreneurship or self-employment. And that's because of risk. There is much more risk outside of the zoo than there is inside of the zoo, but equally there is less freedom. And think about this if you're an employee. If you want to take 6 months off, are you really going to have a job to go back to when you do that? Now, some employers might be quite flexible and offer a sabbatical if you're lucky. But equally, if you just decide that you want to do something different in your job, follow a different strategy, follow different rules, you're probably going to get disciplined in that environment. So there is a trade-off. And I want you to think of what's more important for you. And if the idea of being free from the zoo is more appealing, there's probably a little bit of an entrepreneur within you that actually would value being self-employed or being your own boss much more than being an employee. So think about that, because this session is really about making the transition from being an employee to being self-employed, to being the master of your own destiny. It carries risks, but I can really relate to this particular client because I've only had 2 jobs in my life. And my last job, I was 23 years old. That's when I became self-employed. And I would never consider going back to employment because I have so much more autonomy and I steer my life in the direction that I want to do. But with that does come a huge responsibility. You have no boss to report to. You are your own boss. And therefore, if you're not structured and disciplined and you know what you're doing, actually it can be a dangerous place out there in the wild. But for some people, that's where they thrive best. So think about you and what you want, and use this either for inspiration, just as a thought experiment to feel where your values are, or if you feel that you could be ready to move into self-employment, maybe there's something in this session that unlocks a resource to make that happen. Now, it was created for an individual. This individual had 2 weeks of annual leave, and they were going to use that time to prepare everything for their new business and then hand in their notice to resign from their business, from their job. That is unlikely to be your situation. So if you do like the idea of something like this, but completely tailored to you, there will be a link in the description where you can book a free consultation call to explore working with me. If you can't find it there, check out my website, adamcox.co.uk, and you'll be able to book a free consultation call, have a chat on Zoom, and we might end up working together. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place, the kind of place where you won't be distracted or disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you're breathing in, breathe in that wonderful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, feel a wonderful feeling of release, as if any doubts, hesitations, any worries are slowly leaving your body in your outward breath. Eyelids feeling heavier, jaw feeling loose, and neck and shoulders starting to relax even more. That's it. Position your body in a way where it's conducive to getting to that place of enhanced neural plasticity, where thoughts become ideas, ideas become actions, actions become seeds that grow into wonderful results. That's it. And as you breathe in a color that represents self-belief. Your intuition will let you know what that color is. Maybe bright, vibrant. And just imagine breathing in that concentrated feeling of self-belief. That's it. And as you exhale, any of those insecurities and doubts, any second guessing, starts to leave your body as almost grey shadows. Breathing in that self-belief and exhaling the doubts. Almost like each breath gives you a feeling of even more belief than the previous breath. And every exhale releases more of those doubts, uncertainties. That's it. And sometimes people think of the trade-off between false security and freedom as like a zoo animal. The zoo animal gets the regular meals, the vet on hand if they get sick, but they're trapped in the zoo a cage, looked at, monitored, prodded. And then there is life outside the zoo, the real world. And there is no regular meals outside the zoo. There is no certainty. And I want you to think of your favorite animal and imagine the choice between remaining in the zoo with certainty or having the freedom to explore what is truly possible for you. No guarantee of your next meal, but infinite possibilities, rather than seeing the same cage again and again and again. And I want you to imagine you've been in that cage, in that zoo, maybe for a year or two or more. And you see an opportunity. Maybe it's a door that was not locked properly. Or maybe you're being transported from one zoo to another. And there is an opportunity to be free. And in that moment, a decision gets made. Do you remain in the certainty, in the scrutiny, in the false comfort? Or do you seize the moment to do what you're destined to do? And I want you to imagine your workplace as being the zoo, and self-employment, life beyond the zoo. And I want you to think of a period of annual leave. This is how you prepare to escape. I want you to imagine that 2 weeks is more than enough to see if you're ready. Because life outside the zoo won't have the manager, the zookeeper. There's no accountability. You are accountable only to yourself and your clients. So consider this 2-week period as a wonderful opportunity to test if you're already ready. Because if in that 2 weeks you're able to structure your day, plan your outcomes, work on doing things that makes a difference, to accomplish more in those few days that many people would take in several weeks, then at the end of that 2 weeks you would know that you're ready. And if in that period of 2 weeks there's too much hesitation, procrastination, it tells you one of two things. Either you're not yet ready to leave the zoo, or this idea is not the way of escaping the zoo. And a great question to ask is, if not this, then what? And if no good alternative comes to mind, then this probably is the thing. And if not now, then when? And if it doesn't feel like there'd be a better time, then now is the right time. I want you to feel a sense of decisiveness, that you're mentally ready. In ancient Rome, they would say, Carpe diem. Seize the day. Don't wait for it to happen. Make it happen. And if your unconscious feels that this period of preparation is the ideal time to escape from the zoo, let me know by nodding your head. Forewarned is forearmed. There could be things that are obstacles. Maybe these are distractions. You'll know the things that distract you. Getting lost in social media doom scrolling. Thinking too much on low priority things. Doing things that don't need to be done at the expense of those things that do. I want you to think of those things in the past that did get in the way. And then think for this 2-week period. How do you enable and harness the past as reconnaissance to avoid the pitfalls, those pitfalls that you fell in before? How do you avoid them now? For some people, they have their phone in a different room, and when they're working, they're working. For some people, they schedule and structure. They prioritize. They zone out anything else but the thing that needs to be done. And I want you to think of a time in your past when you did something not because someone else was asking you. You did something on your terms, in the way that aligns with you, and did it to a high standard, not because you had to, but because you wanted to. And when you can recall that memory, observe yourself back then, and maybe you had an uncluttered environment. Maybe you had a certain facial expression or posture. Maybe you were in a particular place, and just mimic how you were back then when you were in that state of doing what needed to be done on your terms. And then step into that version of you and feel what it would feel like to be focused, motivated, productive, to do what needs to be done. And when that's activated, let me know by nodding your head. And then imagine observing you in the future, using that 2-week period to prepare your escape. Notice what time you wake up. Notice how you avoid interruptions or distractions. Notice how you structure or schedule your day. Notice what you do so that you see an enthusiastic, empowered, productive version of you. Seal yourself with all of the qualities that you want to embody, not just in your escape, but when you are your own boss, answerable only to yourself. And if you can see that future version of you in that state, accomplishing significant things, then imagine at the end of that period, you have unlocked another level within. Call it evolution, maturity, or progression. And I want you to imagine seeing that version of you on the very next day, perhaps emailing or handing a resignation letter, making it clear you are no longer an employee, and you don't stop being an employee at the point where you finish working. You stop being an employee at the moment you make a decision and back it up with action. Your employment ends the moment they accept that resignation. Everything else is just a lag time. You are already self-employed the very moment they receive that resignation letter. Self-employment starts in that second. And then imagine seeing that similar energy to that 2-week preparation during the notice period. See yourself continuing to prepare, create content, reach out to certain people, prepare materials, network, progress your own business. And if you could imagine that this 2 weeks is how you escape. But once you've escaped, the notice period is the runway to launch, to be free, to be wherever you desire to be. And I want you to see moments of success, a video gaining traction, a website finished, a first client acquired, that first successful campaign with that client. Allow your imagination to reveal to you those milestones of early successes. Each time you see one, let me know by nodding your head. This is life beyond the zoo. Daunting, difficult, but you have an edge. I want you to see yourself with a safety net you won't need, but is there just in case. And I want you to think of circus acts on the trapeze. By them knowing that there is a safety net, they are more audacious, more committed. They take bigger risks. That is the point of a safety net. Not to think you're ever going to need it, but to feel free, to fully lean into this new identity that you are self-employed. You are the founder. You are the entrepreneur. You are the owner. And the safety net just empowers you to be even more of all those things. Allow your unconscious to try to think of reasons why this may fail, But for every problem, allow your unconscious to provide you with 2 or 3 or more solutions, because that's what it's like. You don't have to know all the answers and preempt every problem. Just have a deep belief that when problems happen, you can solve them. And when mistakes happen, you can learn from them. And you don't need to know it all right now. When your unconscious mind feels psychologically prepared for this transition, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. Now it's time to return to the present, taking all of this certainty, preparation, self-belief, and enthusiasm with you. Now it's just a matter of time to take a thought into an idea into action, and action into reality. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.